Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is Getting to Know, where we get to know a little bit more about the wrestlers and talent that make Barrie Wrestling so great. I am Mike Jeffries, and alongside me today is one half of the 400 North Tag Team Champions, Triple Dragon. I am with Pretty Ricky Willdy. Ricky, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the intro. Thank you for watching. My name is Pretty Ricky Willdy. I am very happy to be here. How's your day going?
It's going pretty well. Barrie traffic is awful right now, but it's going pretty well. Yourself?
Barrie traffic is awful. Barrie weather is beautiful, and
True.
The people are just as bright.
So, first question is always, where are you from and how long have you been wrestling?
I'm here from Brantford, Ontario. I love it in there. It's a good city. I hated it when I was a child. I learned to love it, and I assume Barrie's a similar place. You wanna outgrow the aquarium you're born in. You know what I mean? But there's a reality that Brantford's a really nice city, and you can either run from these problems or you can try to fix it. And honestly, I've been watching the movie series Halloween. And a lot of the movie centers around Haddonfield, Illinois, and the reality is you could have just left Haddonfield. You knew he was coming back. You even knew the date, and that's the craziest part, but you could have left Haddonfield. You chose not to, and I similarly have chose to stay in Brantford and try to fix it up as much as possible. How long have I been wrestling? I don't know. It's a hard question. I started amateur wrestling when I was in elementary school. I ended up on the University of Toronto wrestling team, and if I didn't go on that team, I wouldn't have been ready for the scholarship competition at the Toronto Pro Show in the summer of. God, I don't even remember. Anyways, I was like 19 years old, 20. I had just finished up university, and Santino Marella had a contest at the Toronto Pro Show, and I won, again, entirely because of the U of T wrestling team, because I had just been on it, and that won me a scholarship at Battle Arts. So then I started at Battle Arts, and I moved to Mississauga. I was going to move to Lance Storms in Calgary, but I moved to Mississauga because I got a free scholarship from Santino.
I had no idea.
Shout out Santino.
Cobra. I will say one of the highlights of my announcing career was getting to call the Cobra when he Cobra'd Shiloh here.
Oh, that was great.
And I was... I had lost my voice. My voice cracked. I went through puberty calling that. Did not care. Highlight of my announcing career.
That was fun here because I got full reign. It just, I very rarely take advantage of the fact that we can grab a microphone here. You know what I mean? Because it's a wonderful place, and I don't want to abuse that privilege. So I wait until someone else grabs a microphone, and then I kind of just roll with it.
Usually Puff.
But that was you, not me. But in this situation, I very much just commandeered the entire segment. I don't think Santino was ready for me to grab the microphone. I don't think the promoter was ready for me to grab the microphone. I don't think the audience or the people I was wrestling, no one knew what was happening for most of that segment except for myself because I was orchestrating it. And that in lies the genius of myself.
This is true. Now, speaking of Barrie Wrestling, what first brought you to Barrie Wrestling?
Sean. The promoter. And now, little known... Sorry, come on, that was such a smart-ass remark. I don't know, it was awesome, you know what I mean? Especially back in... Oh, Christ, when did I start? I don't know if it was 2018 or 2019, but back at that time, you know, the posters for Barrie Wrestling, along with, the quality of wrestling, this was the place to be in Ontario. And it's so funny how quickly it happens, because I remember, like, old guys in wrestling talking about different promotions and things like that, and me not caring at all, because I was... It felt like a lifetime ago that they were talking about.
Yeah.
And now I talk to young guys who weren't around before the pandemic, and I swear to God, I feel like the old guy. It's like, that was a couple days ago. You know what I mean? But no, Christ, it was a lifetime ago. But man, the times, 2018, 2019, Barrie was a hot spot in Ontario and Canada, and it still is. Again, because of the quality of the posters, the production, the wrestling, all of it.
The wrestlers are a big part of that, and the fans. The fans are incredible. Now, your official Barrie Wrestling debut was actually at Mavericks Music Hall, but your first match inside the FLCC...
I don't think that's true.
Did you have one
that
here?
was a Hustle brand.
No, the first Maverick show was Barrie Wrestling, and the other two were under that Hustle brand, which is a terrible name, Sean.
I'll take your word. I'll take your word for that.
Terrible name. I'm going by Cage Match, and Cage Match not that...
Cage Match has screwed me repeatedly. So, Cage Match, you have a bone to pick with Ricky Willdy. Let me tell you.
I will say...
Put that match on the board.
The
Cage.
Hustle brand match you did with RJ City.
Wham.
was the first time Jim Lowe and I did commentary. We did it from the balcony for a Facebook Live, and there was a spot where RJ City chopped you.
Yep.
And you screamed, and Jim was solo on commentary for a minute and a half because I fell out of my chair laughing.
That's great. That's great. I do appreciate that.
But do you know who your first opponent was here at the FLCC?
Man, Puff?
It was
Thank
for the
you.
Three Pistols Championship.
Thank you.
Now,
I won. I'm undefeated.
You guys have been friends, enemies, frenemies. You're now Triple Dragon, the 400 North Tag Team Champions. How did the partnership with Puff start?
Man, that's such a good question. I remember just seeing him on like social media and just being aware of Puff and just kind of this force. We eventually met at a Greektown wrestling show, and we both just like our energies just kind of clicked. So we've brawled in the past, but I don't know. We're too like-minded. You know what I mean? So we just we kind of enjoy the finer points of wrestling, as it were. We meshed from a very early age, and now it's such a crazy concept because it felt like that was the other day when we were just like getting our feet and kind of figuring things out, and now we've been doing this for years. It's like 5 years that this has been going on now. It's preposterous, yeah. So it's really cool that it's kind of culminated into this into the tag team championship.
Because you guys
run.
tagged together before you even wrestled in Barrie. I'm pretty sure from what I saw.
I believe so.
And what has that partnership meant for you and your career?
Oh, man, it's been the coolest thing in the world. I love tag team wrestling. I really do. Finding Puff is like we click on a game plan level. We click on a vibe check in the ring. We kind of know where we're thinking, where we're going with things. It's been one of the best. And then, honestly, just like Puff's a great guy. The energy that he brings is something special, you know? So yeah, just to be able to be around him, to go to shows and know that like I'm just going to be hanging out with Puff, and then through tagging we started hanging out a little bit more outside of the ring, and same thing, like so much fun. He's such a great guy. It's meant the world to me. It's been such a fun run.
When we did the first show up in Aurelia, the first match, Puff,
really?
Aurelia, oh yeah, Puff was the first entrance, and I told Sean afterwards, I'm like, anytime I'm announcing anywhere, can you please book Puff in the opener, because just instant the crowd is into it.
Yes.
And when you were training at Battle Arts and all that, did you expect to be a tag team guy? Like, did you think that was something you wanted to do, or it just kind of happened?
Yeah, and it's crazy because when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was be a ladder match guy. You know what I mean? I wanted to be Jeff Hardy. You laugh, but I mean that was the dream, right? I wanted to be doing Swantons.
I get it.
Now I look at it as like, there's not a god dang chance you would get me up there.
It's too high.
No, it's insane. Like, all the credit to him, makes dreamers out of all of us, but wow, that's not what I'm doing. So I don't know. The dream kind of evolves. And then there was a time where, like, Santino really got in my head, so I wanted to be a shooter, and I wanted to be like Daniel Bryan or something. Like, but again, that's just God. It is not me. A, it's not how my muscle twitches, but B, it's not my mindset. You know what I mean? There is. Oh, God, like, I don't want to pull the curtain back too far here, but there's a reality that me going out there and trying to do my best Daniel Bryan impression, there are probably 60 guys within a 100-kilometer radius who are doing the exact same thing. Like, I'm not trying to be rude here, but there's reality, and I would not even be the best of those 60. I don't know if I'd be top 10 of the Daniel Bryan impersonators. You know what I mean? So don't do that. Be yourself. That's the whole game here. So the reality is that, like, I can't help myself but try to be goofy.
There's only one Pretty Ricky.
I mean, thank you. I do appreciate that.
And the rapper, but I guess there's only one Pretty Ricky, Willdy.
You know, I didn't know that was a thing until after I had, became Pretty Ricky. I swear to you, I didn't know that the rapper was a thing. You think, why wouldn't you have Googled it? Not the way I think.
Yeah,
not the way I operate.
And that's fair. Now, I wanted to ask this question.
The Submission Sorority was a woman's group on Monday Night Raw. They had graphics and an entrance, and then it turned out to be, an adult film industry that had existed for years. And again, that's the WWE. That's Monday Night Raw. So you ask me, how did you not know the rapper existed? I swear to God, I never Googled it. Why would I Google it? Pretty Ricky. It was perfect.
I wonder if mentioning Submission Sorority will get us demonetized here, but hopefully not. Now, you mentioned Jeff Hardy, so I want to segue.
I didn't know.
So you have been in 3 of probably the craziest matches in Barrie wrestling history, and one of them was Falls Count Anywhere in Barrie. It was you, Holden Albright, and Puff.
Yeah.
There was a spot in that match where you climbed up to the top of a stack of barriers that had to be 10, 8, 12 feet high, and it was concrete.
Yeah.
And you, I'll say dove off, just kind of fell off onto. When you got up there, what, like, was it just I have made a terrible mistake?
I mean, there's a lot of that, you know. Oh God, it's hard to describe, man, because. Again, you're going up against Puff, you're going up against Holden Albright. Okay, what do you bring to the table? We're in a street fight. Oh, let me see how great my hammerlock is. You know, like, probably not going to work. Like, I'm more likely to get hit in the head with a hammer than making something work with a hammerlock, right? So, okay, let me try to hide, let me try to evade, let me try to hurt them. What can I throw at them? Me. I can throw me. You know what I mean? And here's the reality, and I hate pulling the curtain back this far, but I'll do it for you. If I pushed over that stack of guardrails, that huge mess would have come back on Sean, the promoter. Okay? Now, he's getting calls saying, what the hell are these guys doing?
The police were called.
Okay, the police were called, and we barely caused any destruction, right? Other than ourselves. I'm saying, what if we caused mayhem to the city? What if I started breaking real laws?
Yeah.
Okay? I wouldn't have been booked again. So I had to throw something other than the actual city property, which becomes myself, so I climbed up city property to propel myself. And again, I'm not a cruiserweight guy, okay? That's not what I do. I'm not a ladder or a flip guy. I'm not a gymnast, okay?
Albright did say when he saw them, I'm going to moonsault off those, and I said, please don't. But was it you putting the sharpshooter in the middle of the road?
I was putting the sharpshooter on Canada Day in the middle of the road on Barrie, yes.
Which was a callback to something happened the night before, apparently, with a couple of the young guys who were drinking and did a sharpshooter in the middle of traffic.
And I didn't know that. I want to be clear about that.
No. And that's not to pull back the curtain again. People think, like matches are planned out. That was, you guys just figured that out as you went along for the most part.
If we scripted any of it, my memory would be that of a savant. Like, just give me a goddamn break. We were going for an hour. Albright's in the hallway. I call him Hallbright. I call him Hallbright. He's smiling. He can hear me. We're not in a soundproof booth. Yes, absolutely.
Albright's giving us the cut.
If I could remember that much, I would be a savant at this thing, okay? I can't.
That match, I
can get hit in the face and respond, and I don't like that as a skill because I think I am attractive.
I will say, I don't want to talk too much. There's a YouTube video.
I'm attractive?
A little bit.
Thank you.
On the Barrie Wrestling channel where you guys did a voiceover of watching that match back, and it's great.
Yeah.
Now, the other match I wanted to talk about
sucked. Sorry.
So
we tried our best with content.
Of those
Rough
three,
times.
that's one. The Wild Rovers match is two. The third one, and I think this match.
Rovers match was a good one. Yeah.
I think this other match is underrated for its importance in Barrie Wrestling history because it was coming out of the pandemic. It was our first.
I say I love how deep you've gone on this. I really do.
I do.
It means so much.
I do more research on this than I do on the courses I'm taking. So.
Hell yeah.
It was the Christmas death match between you and Puff, and that was our first full show that was filmed for, at the time, the Patreon, which is now, we thankfully put on IWTV. It was just out of the pandemic. It was our first full show. We had the afternoon charity show, but then there was that. Like, take me through that match, because the match starts with, I think, is it you or Puff that kills Brad Myers in the opening seconds of the match?
Oh,
one of you kills him.
I think it's Puff, but it might have been me. I don't quite remember.
I know you take a brutal shot to the head with a rapper that did not bend.
Yeah, man. Listen, this is a physical sport, okay? Even though we were, trying to have a little ha-ha at some point, I did get rocked in the skull, man.
And Puff laughed.
Oh, of course. It is funny when you see somebody get hurt. Yeah, man, that match was nuts. God, I really did love that. Again, just like we went as far as we wanted with that. I got to, really kind of play out some ideas. It was a real showing of, like, we're going to trust you with this. We're going to let you go for this. And the idea that the crowd responded is exactly what we were going for. I've had people describe it as a fever dream, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. That is such a compliment for myself.
I can say Jim and I on commentary were just cracking up at a lot of different points. And I mean, I'm bad for laughing. Like, it happens 3 or 4 times a show, but you guys were just killing us. And there were some great moments. And, like, is that... For a match like that, are you driving down the road thinking of ideas? Like, do stuff just hit you? Or is it like...
Oh, man. You don't understand.
So the card got full. So there's going to be a little bit of jump edit here because I'm not good at editing. But what I was asking... Technical difficulties. What I was asking you...
Let me ask you, what's your favorite horror movie franchise?
I'm not a horror movie fan.
What's your...
Final Destination.
Which one in the series?
First one.
Have you seen the second one?
No, but I heard about the last one where it loops back around to the first one, which I think is really cool.
How many of that series have you seen?
1. I don't like horror movies.
Yeah, all right. That's fair. Okay.
So we were talking.
Do you think it's disrespectful to watch war movies during the Remembrance Day era of November?
No.
It's a weird question, because you would celebrate Halloween by watching horror movies throughout October, and you would celebrate Christmas by watching Christmas movies throughout December. But is it disrespectful to watch war movies throughout November to try and get in the Remembrance Day mind spirit? You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
Because it's not like that kind of holiday, right?
Boy, we had to pause the video and we just took a hard left turn.
I've been thinking.
So what I was trying to ask you about, the Christmas death match between you and Puff.
Yes.
And it's a very important match. We were just back from the pandemic. Yeah. It was hilarious. It was important. I think underrated in the history of Barrie Wrestling for where it should stand.
I think you can get into the mindset of it being violent as well. I think you can watch it, and I think you can get transposed into the mindset of it not being as funny and more like understanding what we're going for with these different strikes and different objects. That might be just my own perverted mindset, but I do believe there's a way to do that.
Well, there's a little bit of that of like, not to keep pulling back the curtain, but we all know wrestling is wrestling, right? An Irish whip, if you grab me by the arm and throw me, I will eventually stop. I won't keep running and bouncing off things. And so if you want to tell us that these ropes that are wrapped in Christmas lights are electrified and hurting you, we can go with that. And I have the same rule, and this is the thing, when people say, oh, wrestling's fake, no. Movies are fake. I have stood in a ring. It is not soft. It hurts. Tell me the rules that we're playing under, right? Tell me the physics. Tell me the rules that we're playing under. If you're saying these things, as long as it's consistent throughout that whole match, I am good with that.
Play by the rules.
But what I wanted to ask you, and again, video got cut off, but like these ideas, like how much of it is discussed with Puff? How much of it was him, you? Is it just like we're just going to go with it and whatever happens, happens?
I distinctly remember Jesse V in the locker room making a comment when me and Puff started putting things together of, oh, you guys are actually going to plan something, which I felt like was a cheap shot. Yeah, I don't know. It's God, it's you ever read Decoded by Jay-Z?
No.
I did, and he made a comment of, even if you're going to be a clown, you got to take it seriously or you're not going to be successful. And I don't think of myself as a clown, but I do think that regardless, you have to take it pretty seriously when you're trying to, especially when you're trying to put on a show for someone. You know what I mean? Especially when people are actually coming out, paying their hard-earned money to come see you, go do a thing on a Saturday evening. Like, man, you can't give these people a lackluster performance. They may as well stay home and watch Seinfeld. Seinfeld's sweet. Exactly. So if they're coming out, they better get something good. And honestly, about that match, it's like, really during the pandemic, you have to consider. You had to consider where you were in your life. You know what I mean? It really made you think. So the idea of like maybe I've done enough here. You know what I mean? Maybe I've hit the peak. Maybe I've done what I was supposed to do, and now I can kind of move on. Of course, it went through my head. Absolutely went through my head. And then I think about moments like that match with Puff, and it's like, that is why I keep doing it. That's why I didn't stop during the pandemic, because that is one of the fondest memories that I have. How sweet and close to my heart that I hold a match like that.
That's awesome. And I think it's important, like in wrestling, we talked about like there's Bryan Danielson guys out there or whatever, like wrestling is something where if you like comedy or if you like drama or if you like action, like there is all of that, and it's all important. It's all part of this fabric that we call professional wrestling. And some of the greatest moments in like Steve Austin's career is him playing the guitar and making Vince McMahon laugh. Like it's important.
It's Hot Fuzz to me. Have you ever seen that movie? Okay, it's Home Alone. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Sami Zayn breaks down a wrestling match to drama, action, and whatever else. And admittedly, my action is not as good as other people in the ring. There are other people who are more dynamic and flying. So I then fill that in with comedy. What's it? The Other Guys. The Other Guys. That movie. Same thing. So the action in that is maybe not as great as like a Bad Boys. But the gaps that are filled there are with comedy. So I don't see it as necessarily a comedy wrestling. It's such a weird philosophical thing. But it's like early on I was told if I go and try to be a comedy wrestler, you're going to get stuck in this niche and kind of not be able to move out of it. But the ideas of like, it's not a character and a gimmick necessarily. Like, it is genuinely just me being myself. And honestly, I think that's part of the problem. I need to, if I was more of a gimmick, if I was more of a character, it would be able to be brandable and move forward quicker. But because it has just evolved into me being myself, it's like, I don't know. It's I would use comedy in a fight. If I was in a bar, and I have been, and I got into a fight, and I have been, I would use comedy, and then I would attack from behind. You know what I mean? And I think that's pretty honest to the portrayal of the ring.
Did you travel with a big cardboard cutout of yourself too for those moments?
Do you think I haven't?
I wouldn't surprise me.
The idea that I came to the wrestling world at like 21, 25, whatever the hell I was by the time I started getting into Barrie, honest to God, I don't know. One of those, but by the time I got here, those gags and gimmicks, like, yeah, they were sharp, weren't they? They were good jokes. It's not like I just bang, 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 bang. You know what I mean? This is stuff that I've legitimately been working on since I was like 8 years old. Yes, I've done these things before. You know what I mean? There are classic moments of Ricky, I swear to you, that I was also doing in high school. That just like, this is, I know what works.
Well, there's a moment.
I'm good at this!
There's a moment in Chris Jericho. I read one of his books, and he talks about like he tried out for something for acting. I forget what it was. And they're like, "Oh, you're actually a really good actor." It's like, I've been acting on TV for 15 years, right?
Exactly.
So it's a little bit of that. Now, I want to pivot a bit because you have also become
cute,
and you're a promoter now. So you helped with the Arthur Caulfield Memorial Show, and then you did your Brantford Wrestling show.
Yes.
Was it pretty much, if Sean Gibson can do it, then it can't be that hard? Like, was that basically the thought process? Or like, what inspired you to do that?
If you're going to make me rip the curtain back, I'm going to give you honest answers. You asked for it, you're going to get it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
have nothing but respect for Sean Gibson. He's a really good man, and he's a really hard worker, and he is absolutely somebody that I look up to, somebody who I think is doing a very commendable job in a lot of aspects of life. So yeah, you know, I got nothing but good things to say about the guy. I got a lot of respect for him. And the reality is, I don't think of myself as a promoter. I'm not really a promoter. There are people in Brantford who want a wrestling show. There was a very specific reason why we needed to have a show in order to raise money, and I'm kind of the guy to do it. You know what I mean? And without me doing it, it wouldn't have quite worked in Brantford. And are there opportunities to do that moving forward? Yes, but there's a reality. You name the two shows that I've done; they're both charity shows, and I don't love the word charity, but yeah,
fundraisers.
Sure, but the reason that I do that is because that's a good enough reason to make me motivated to do it. It's a lot of work, and it kind of sucks. Yeah, it's not something I do. And then, you know, the real reality of it is like, do you know how much money it costs to run a show?
A lot more than people think.
A lot of money. Especially if you want to run a good show, which, if I'm going to attach my name to something, same reason I'm so proud to be a part of Barrie Wrestling. If I'm going to be a part of something, it's going to be good. It's going to be top-notch, high-quality production, and that's what we have here. So if I'm going to do something in Brantford, I'm going to do something, you know, very similar. I'm going to have a top quality production, and that is going to cost money. So where's the money come from? Not me, because that's what a promoter does. Not me. So I don't play that game. It's not coming from me. I ain't got the money in the pocket, and you're not getting it out of mine. So it comes from somebody else's pocket, and when it's somebody else's money, it's somebody else's opinion. And when it's somebody else's opinion, it's not really my problem, but I certainly don't want to be labeled the promoter. You know what I mean? Because
that's fair.
The judgment is out of my hands at that point, because once you're paying, you own the chessboard. You know what I mean? It's the same thing as Vince McMahon. He owns the WWE, so you can have as many opinions about, you know, who should be booked and who should be pushed, but the reality is he owns the thing, so he's the one doing it.
He has
you know
final say.
And anyone who works there has more opinion than a fan, but ultimately he owns the chessboard. So it's the same thing. Like, I don't consider myself a promoter because my money is not involved, and I don't really have the opportunity to make those opportunities and those decisions. But it does certainly feel amazing to have that kind of reaction in Brantford, to recognize that if somebody is going to run in Brantford and try to raise money, that I kind of need to be involved. It's a nice place to be.
I do feel like promoting, it's, in a way, you know, people think that announcing or commentating is something that anybody can do, right? Like, the people want to be attached to wrestling, and I'll be honest, when I grew up, you had the Jeff Hardy thing. I wanted to be like Jim Cornette.
Okay, that's
right.
Funny.
Like, I wanted to be a manager or
Bobby
an announcer.
Heenan and Jeff Hardy were my two.
Yeah, I mean, I am 5'7", 155, 160 pounds with bricks in my pockets. I've never been athletic.
Yeah.
I played sports, but I've never been athletic. I knew I wasn't going to be a wrestler.
Yeah,
you know, and I worked at being, you know, God gifted me this ability to be able to talk. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people can't do it, but they think they can. And I feel like promoting or having the book is something people think they can do,
Yes.
but they don't realize how much time and effort and money, and there's things like insurance, and there's things like, people get upset. What do you do if there's traffic and this person's late or they get sick, right? Like
there's
so much to it.
There's a famous thing from Jim Ross, and I was so guilty of it, where a lot of people think before, when they're younger, maybe when they're older, I can't be a wrestler, but I could be a manager or a referee. That's a really common thought.
Yeah.
I had the same thought when I was a kid, honestly, and then I heard Jim Ross specifically call that out and say, like, what a disrespect, what an insult that is. So then I get into wrestling and I go through the process, and it's like, holy Christ, man. To even to be a referee on the indies, to be a manager on this level is like, you are scraping at straws to try and get, you got to be good to be, on that level, let alone on the big stage. You know what I mean? So to have that kind of arrogance, and again, the same thing with the commentating and announcing, and I'm a big stand-up comedy fan. Shocker. The idea that it looks like someone's just talking. I talk every day. It's got to be so easy. It's not easy. It's very hard to keep someone's attention and to deserve someone's attention.
I will say, I could talk about Brad Myers for hours. Talk about referees, having him here.
Can we input a photo in this moment of him with his new clean-shaved face?
It's weird.
What a weird look.
It's a weird look. He's going for Movember. But Brad as a referee has been so
I didn't
great.
even realize that was a thing, that you were supposed to clean shave before you grew a mustache for Movember every year.
See,
I feel like that's new this year. I never heard that before.
I would do that, but then my mustache wouldn't come in until December.
That's a good call. I like the mustache. I don't want to get rid of it.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. One goal for you in life or in wrestling before the end of 2024. It's November 2023 right now.
Oh,
goal you'd like to
that.
accomplish.
Don't do that. 2024, man, I really don't know. My knee exploded last summer. So my knee exploded, and it happened it happened in the tryout to get to the WWE. So my goal in life was to work for the WWE. It worked this summer. I got to work there. I was there on Edge's last night, and I was almost out of wrestling when Edge retired, and then I watched the speech of him retiring, and it was so emotional because I started thinking about being a child and having the first Edge figure, seeing Edge, do the math on it, you know what I mean? I would have been 5 years old when he had debuted, and so I was watching Monday Night Raw, and I did see this character, and now I had seen his entire evolution, and he was retiring because of a broken neck, so it got me so emotional. I started thinking about things, and then it got me right back into wrestling pretty deep, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I was there full circle when he was retiring, and to pair that with my knee also exploding, I don't know, it got me thinking in a lot of ways. It's hard for me to have a goal because my goal has kind of been hit this summer, and I have been in a weird kind of funk since that because I understand that's not the top of the mountain by any means.
But where do you go from there?
I mean, that was the whole driving force. And now it's okay, I got to kind of recalibrate and refigure this thing out. But also, that was paired with my knee exploding. So my number one focus is trying to get my knee back together so that I can kind of rely on it.
Well, and that's fair. And I mean, we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Hopefully, you're
Very
still
happy to be
Hopefully,
here.
you're still tag team champs at the end of 2024,
Absolutely.
adding on to the longest reign in Barrie Wrestling history.
Absolutely.
So to wrap this up, where can people find you on social media?
Find me at all social media at PROWILLDY. That's Pro Willdy, 2 L's. Both together. If I don't spell it, it'll be spelt wrong. I do apologize.
I'm pretty sure I called you Ricky Wildy for the first
Most people
3
do.
months.
That's why I scream and yell.
Anyways, I'm Mike Jeffries. You can find me at
Ricky Willdy.
At Mike Jeffries PA on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to follow Barrie Wrestling everywhere. Look us up on IWTV. That's independentwrestling.tv. Use the code Barrie400. Let them know we sent you. Ricky, thank you so much. An absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you again soon.